So Broadway, when you think about Broadway, it's generally a place people go to see shows, right? However, in recent years, up to 2015, Broadway has started to see a decrease in popularity as people just weren't as interested anymore. Musicals in favor of television and movies, video games, etc., other forms of entertainment, has started taking a back seat, and so the public was kind of easing off of going to see shows for recreation. Because of this, Broadway needed a big show, one that would bring young crowds in and also old crowds continue to come back. Enter Hamilton, an American musical, which I'm sure many of you know of. However, if you haven't heard the name, or maybe it isn't a household due to its popularity, it is a musical wrote by Lin-Manuel Miranda and opened in 2016 on the Broadway stage. It tells the story of Alexander Hamilton, our first Secretary of Treasury, who established the First National Bank of America. So he is a big deal. However, in a lot of situations in history class, he would take a backseat to, say, presidents. Because although the Secretary of Treasury does not have such a glamorous job as the president, it is still very important to recognize the effect he had on the country overall. So, a little bit about Hamilton as a play. It was wrote, scored, and composed by Lin-Manuel Miranda. He also starred in the play as the main character, Alexander Hamilton. It was first performed July 27th, 2013, when it was still being workshopped. It took a long time to get to the point that it is today, and workshopping a show is more so just showing the public what you have so far. You do not have many of the cast members who will see the future of the show. It's just showing the public what they can expect in the future. It officially opened on Broadway August 6th, 2015, and it took Broadway by storm. A few of the things that it has accomplished in its time is that it has acclaimed 11 Tony Awards, more nominations, and it was only one away from breaking the record. Also, they got to perform for President Barack Obama when he was in office, and all of the White House staff, because of its American message, they wanted to have the public see it, so they performed it and broadcasted it to the nation. And they've had many tours, not all in the US. They've had one tour in the UK, 2 in the US, and they will have a 3-week stint in Puerto Rico here soon. So, what messages does the show convey overall? The show is largely based on reputation, and what I mean by that is they have a very big overarching theme of how history sees you. You are only seen by history how other people have saw you in the past and how they convey who you are. For example, let's say that I'm nice to everyone in my life. They will likely tell stories of grandeur about me, and people will come to see me as a good person, as who I was in the past. However, if I do something that's kind of shady or bad for my reputation, that will obviously affect who I'm seen as the future goes along. So, the follies of mudslinging political parties, being a political show and being based around the time that the nation started, we start to see the beginning of political parties with the Federalists and the Democratic Republicans, who, although were warned not to involve themselves in political parties, did end up doing it, and you see some of the repercussions of that throughout the show. It touches on immigration. By touches, I mean it is essentially made up of messages about immigration. From the casting, which the original Broadway casting was made up of only immigrants, so people from different countries were the only people who were allowed to be on the original Broadway cast. Also, it goes to show that through the entire country at the time, going back to the time period, this is when the colonies were around, they were all immigrants. All of them were from a different place, whether it be Britain, whether it be Spain. So the point is, they were not from that land initially, and therefore it leaves a message of how are we going to talk about immigration today bad when we were started as immigrants, when that was the whole premise of the nation in the first place, was someplace that was free and fought for their freedom. So this big nationalism kick is very prominent within the show, and Lin-Manuel Miranda has been compelled to retake the role in Puerto Rico, being Puerto Rican himself, and having all the situations politically which happened with Puerto Rico after the hurricane hit, and how the U.S. decided to step back and not help them. He felt it was only right that he perform for his home country of Puerto Rico when they